How's it going, boys and girls? Data here with my first tutorial here on NHL 21 franchise mode. The patches are here. The patches for the patches are coming soon, but for the most part, franchise mode is playable. And today I will be showing you how to maximize your scouting in NHL 21. So I'm going to be showing you today maybe implemented at any point in any franchise mode that you are doing, whether it be 5 seasons in, 10 seasons in, whatever. But for this video, the purposes of this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do your scouting as if you just started your franchise mode, and from what you do in season 1 it will build in seasons 2, 3, 4 and so on as your scouts continue to get better. So I just gave myself a random team here, the Montreal Canadiens. I'm a Canadiens fan, why not? That's what the system put, so I just clicked OK. So when you enter your franchise mode, before even looking at your scouts, the absolute first thing that you got to do is go to your settings and go to the rules. You start scrolling down and you're going to reach something that says auto staff management and auto scouting. You want to make sure that auto staff management is off because you will be hiring and firing your own scouts. If it is on, you will not be given the possibility to do so and you'll start to break your head. For auto scouting, the game gives you the possibility to either auto scout both amateur and pro, amateur being juniors that are undrafted and pro being players that are already on NHL teams, or one or the other, such as only pro or only amateur, or none. Personally, I always set it to auto pro scouting because that leaves the door open to my going out and scouting any pro players that I may have my eyes on, but if I don't, the pro scouts will go out and do their own thing. Meanwhile, I want to have total 100% control on my amateur scouting, so either you say none or pro scouting only. Once that is taken care of, now you're going to go over to the assign scout screen. Now the game will give you many scouts. Well, here I have 17 in the bottom left corner. 17 scouts to start off, a mix of pro and amateur scouts. Now before I go any further, I must add that as you will see in the bottom right corner, I have a scout salary, currently at 1.7-ish million of the 2.6-ish cap. I have owner mode off. I'm not a fan of owner mode. I don't really see the benefit to it that much unless you really want to get into the parking lots and the bathrooms, which an owner wouldn't really be doing. But if you have owner mode on, this is the only time that the salary matters. If owner mode is off, you can totally disregard that number. You can go to hire scouts, for example, and you can offer any scout any amount of money. Budget remaining 932,000. That is irrelevant because you can go over. That's why you should always offer max contracts to scouts, but we'll get into that shortly. So here I am with the scouts that have already been assigned to me. When it comes down to the split of amateur scouts and pro scouts, I will always fire at the very least all of my AHL scouts if Fog of War is off. I don't like Fog of War, like owner mode. I'm not a big fan of it. I think that it's a good idea in principle, but needs to be tweaked, and therefore, while in NHL 20, I'm still not a fan of it. So I'm going to go ahead and fire all of my AHL scouts. That leaves me now with 13. Now I have my pro scouts. I like to keep 2 pro scouts. There are 4 divisions, and I can rotate them through those divisions throughout the season. Therefore, I will fire the lowest rated ones, this one being a D-, and these all being D, so I just have to judge. If I click R3 and look here, this scout has A+ only in one region. I could probably get somebody better than that. And for this one also A in this region, why not just fire this person, whatever. So now I'm down to 10 scouts, 9 amateur, 1 pro. I like to go 18 amateur and 2 pro. Therefore, I must now hire 9 amateur scouts and 1 pro scout to get to the 20 scout maximum. Now you may be asking, what is the breakdown of those scouts? Now let me quickly show you the draft class. The draft class will show you, if you go to the different sorting here by pressing on L2 or R2, sorting by different leagues. The WHL, for example, has many scouts. Just quickly take a little bit of a scroll here. I'm at around the 200s after scrolling for a little bit. If I go over to the NLA, though, for example, I already start off in the 150s, and after a quick scroll, I'm already in the 900s. So you obviously will have many more prospects in the real world populated areas. WHL, OHL, QMJHL, most of the big prospects come from there. The USA will also have many prospects, as well as the SHL and Liga. For Dell, NLA, Extraliga, ICE, Allsvenskan, and rest of the world, you need one or less scouts. Russia as well, you need more scouts. So my breakdown of my 18 scouts is as follows. 2 in the WHL, 2 in the OHL, 2 in the QMJHL, 1 in USA West, 1 in USA Central, 1 in USA East, 1 in Dell, 1 in NLA, 2 in SHL, 2 in Liga, 2 in Russia. That brings me to 17 amateur scouts. For the remaining amateur scout, I would like him to have good ratings in the European or Nordic countries, so that if there ever are a lot of prospects in the ICE or in the Extraliga or in the Allsvenskan, usually I put them in Extraliga, but those prospects are quickly scouted. As you'll see, there are some high prospects here, but after a while, they're pretty much all taken care of. You can almost totally disregard the ICE and the Allsvenskan when you get deeper into a franchise mode. As you'll see right here, I have a few prospects within the top 200, but as you get deeper, I find that there are less and less, but there's always the potential for a random franchise player to come out of Croatia, so you always have to do your due diligence and check out the draft board here. Now, concerning the prospects who are put in the game, in the very first year, and even in the second and third year, not so much in the third year, but definitely the first two, you will find real prospects. For example, here at Turati, no matter what I do for my scouting, I already know that he is a high elite player. Whether I scout him or not, he is a real player playing in Liga, and that is his potential. Same thing for Trevor Wong in the WHL on the Kelowna Rockets. He is a real person. Usually, if they don't have a picture, they're not real, and if they do have a picture, they are real. That's usually what you can go by for the first couple seasons. But as you will see, Virtanen, Blomstrand, Redenbach, these guys are all created. In the first couple seasons, you will not see created players, I think almost at all, from the WHL, OHL, or QMJHL. See, all these players have pictures. Now, the thing is about these guys who have pictures, you're not going to get this random guy, let's say Martin Lang, at ranked 110. He has a real potential associated to him that the EA developers have given. They haven't seen anything special from him. They don't watch the Moose Jaw Warriors every weekend. So he's not going to have medium elite, random gold, gem potential. So you know that it's not really worth it to scout real people in the first couple seasons outside of the top 100 or whatever. There are a few gems here and there, but no one with high elite or franchise or even high top 6 potential very often. However, in the leagues where EA does not have the rights, such as USA West, USA Central, USA East, these are all generated players and therefore may have very good potentials that must be uncovered. Like I said, I already know that Aturati is high elite, but I have no clue what Tommy Virtanen or Torsten Blomstrand is, so I must scout them. The same thing goes for most of Europe when it comes to Russia especially. Those are all created. Liga, there's a mix. SHL, mostly created, a little bit of a mix, and so forth. Pretty much, if it's Canada in the first couple years, there's not as much value to scouting them. But in the future, the WHL, CHL, and QMJHL must be scouted much more thoroughly if you're looking to uncover gems and so forth. But that's just a little disclaimer about where you want to centralize your efforts, perhaps. But let's get into the actual scouting now. Like we said, we want to have 18 amateur scouts in that division of leagues, as we said. But once I fire my AHL scouts and some of my NHL pro scouts, I have all those openings, so I gotta go to hire scouts. As you'll see in the bottom legend, it tells you what countries already have scouts in them. So as I can see by the OHL, QMJHL, and WHL, I only have one of those scouts per region. So I'm gonna go ahead right away and hire one each for there. I go to the OHL, I sort by overall. Unfortunately, they're all C rated. As you'll see next season when we go to the end of this video, when it comes to the off season, there are better scouts to hire, but when you first open up the game in your franchise mode, you won't be getting guys who are A overall. So what you want to make sure about before you offer a contract is that this scout is good in the respective region. His region may be OHL, but when I look deeper, if you look next to OHL, his rating is only A. While, let's say I go to this next person, Roger Yoshida, once again, A. Okay, Matt Correa, A+. That is what I want. If they're all rated C overall, I want the one who's A+. If this scout was A overall and only rated A, then I'd much rather take him than someone whose overall is C and has an A+ in that region. I hope that makes sense. So if they're all rated C, I want to take someone who's guaranteed A+ in the region. Having a higher overall and higher region score means that they can scout more prospects in a shorter amount of time and have higher success in uncovering their potential. So always look for those two things. OHL, good. WHL, I do the exact same thing. A+, perfect. Offer the max contract because money is no object. And then I'll do the same thing over in the QMJHL. Is this Jacques Theodore? I thought it was Jose Theodore for a second. Look at Jacques Theodore. B in the QMJHL. Don't let that fool you. Here we go. A+. Jean Lacerte. Bienvenue à l'équipe. Max contract. There we go. So now you got to keep that in mind. At the bottom right, you'll see contracts offered 3. That helps you to keep note. Now I see where else do I need to fill. How about Russia? I only have 1 scout there, so I'll go hire a scout in Russia. This might be a bit of a tedious process. You could jump ahead if you don't want to watch all of the signings of the scouts, but I want to really make this in-depth and show you every single step of the way. Russia, I have 2 scouts. Now I go over to the Nordic countries. I have 2 scouts there, but I need 2 more. Now I need to go refresh myself on my 2 Nordic scouts. I have one who is an A in the SHL and one who is an A in Liga. Are they A+ anywhere else? Nope. And is this one A in Liga, A+ in Liga? No, still A. So I have 2 A rated scouts. Maybe I want to fire them if I can get some A+ rated scouts. You can always fire, even if they're good, you can fire them to get a little bit better. So this person's A+ in Liga, this person's A+ in SHL, this person's A+ in both, and this person's A+ in SHL. So I will go ahead and hire all 4 of these scouts and fire my 2 other current Nordic scouts. So I'll do that quickly right now. That is all taken care of. Now, while I'm here, I noticed that this scout as well is only B- in USA East. But if I go look over here, he's not A+ anywhere else either. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this scout because I can get someone better. Same thing for the NLA here. D overall and A- in the NLA. I'm going to go ahead and fire this person because I don't really need that. So I'm going to fire again. Now I'm only down to 6 scouts. So you see how much of an overhaul is necessary when you come into the mode. I go over to Europe. I want to sort by overall, and I look at who's good in NLA and Dell. Okay, this person A+ in NLA, and this one A+ in the Dell. Perfect. I will hire both of them. Usually when it comes to scouts who are all rated the same, you can look by the salary that they want. This one who's only asking for 118K is probably not as good as this one asking for 128K, even though they're both rated C. So just make note of that. Now I'm going to go over to the USA. Who is good in the USA East? Because I just fired a USA East. Perfect. This one is A+ in USA East. Pat Scarabelli, welcome to the team. Looking back at my other USA scouts, I have one in USA West. Coming back to look at my scouts again here, there's even further refinement that can do. Look at this scout, A+ in WHL, but D overall. I'd rather go out and hire someone who's A+ and C overall. Every little tweak matters when it comes to trying to find the best scout, because that could be the difference to whether or not a player is uncovered come time for the draft. So I've sent out 12 offers now, and to be honest, it starts to get a little bit fuzzy on what positions go where. So after I send out a bunch of offers, I like to simulate a couple of days and then see who accepts the offers, and then go back and refine and offer the last few contracts, as all these guys are going to sign on now, and then I'll go back to the scout screen. Alright, so now 2 days later, I come back to the screen and look at how nice this is starting to shape up. The overalls are still pretty low, but the regions are much, much better than before. Now I gotta go back and refine. I see, okay, who's this guy? This guy has an A rating in USA West. I say, he was for USA East. So you press triangle, you click on the region that you want to send him to, USA, and you'll send him over to the East. Okay, that is another A+ taken care of. Any other stragglers? Who's this? A minus in the Dell. You were my NLA scout. I will now go ahead and send you to the NLA where you have an A+ rating. Great. Anyone else? Extra Liga, A minus. This person was actually for the Dell, A+ in the Dell. So I will send you to there. And then I think that's the last one, and we can send out our final offers. And there you go. Oh, there's an A in the OHL here. This person must have been a QMJHL scout if that is the case. And this scout here is only A rated but has a B overall, so I'm going to go ahead and keep him. Now, since I have these two in the QMJHL, that means I don't need this guy in the QMJHL. So that means I can go ahead and fire him because he was actually surplus. So I'm just going to press on square, fire him, and that saves me another spot. It is important to note, though, that if there is a season that comes where there are a ton of prospects in a region that has a lot of prospects, usually, such as the QMJHL, you're definitely going to want to send 3 scouts there and remove the extra one from Europe. So as you can see on the legend down there, we're missing an OHL scout. So I go back, OHL, looking for an A+. There he is. McCabe, Jonah McCabe is going to come on board for the OHL. And then I see I already have my 2 everywhere else. I need another one in the USA. So I go back over here. I have USA East A+. Oh, actually I have 2 USA East A+. So that's a mistake that I made. So I'll go ahead and fire the one who's C-, and I need 2 A+ scouts for the Central and the West. So here we are, A+ for the East, A+ for Central. Here we go. Santiago McElhaney, interesting name. And then I just need someone who's A+ in the West. Here we go. Oh, hold on. This person is A+ in all 3. Love it. That will be very helpful if there ever is a crunch in any regions. So I'm missing 5 scouts. I just sent out 3 contracts. I just need 1 more European scout. Preferably someone who's good in Allsvenskan and in Extra Liga to jump between the 2. So I'd look for someone who has A ratings in both or even A+ in both. This person has Vladimir Ovechkin has A+ in Allsvenskan. You got to go through A+ and A-, but a D rating is not optimal. So I'll probably go back with somebody else here. This person had A in both, so that is fair enough. I think I might have fired this person, but welcome back to the team. Those are all the amateur scouts. Now I just need 1 more pro scout to get my 2 pro scouts. Someone who's just good in most... there we go. A+ across the board. Welcome to the team. So 5 offers are sent out. Let's go ahead and simulate another couple days, and then we'll get to the actual scouting of the prospects. I know it's a bit of a long process to get there, but it's very important to refine those scouts so that the scouting is actually meaningful. Alright, so everyone's signed on now. This last scout, not for the NLA, I want to make sure that he goes to Extra Liga. I believe that's where most of the prospects, or the good prospects, were. So we go to Europe, and we send to Extra Liga. And McElhaney as well, he was USA Central. Confirm that assignment. And that should be everybody. Yeah, look at all these A+ up and down the board. You love to see that. Beautiful. Now comes time to send out your scouts. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the QMJHL, for example. The computer already started scouting, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of these so that we got it back to just ourselves taking the reins. You'll see that when you do auto scouting, it's pretty random, where it's scouting like this guy who was ranked 220 and 245, but no one in between. It's pretty random with the auto scouting. So that's why I really encourage you not just to do this, not just for the uncovering of prospect potentials, but uncovering a higher volume of prospects. I'm going to show you at the end of the video how it looks, how this draft class would have looked if we did not do any scouting. So here is what you've all been waiting for. It's really nothing too special. When your season begins, preferably at the very beginning of the preseason. We're about 2 or 3 games into the preseason, not a big deal, but preferably as soon as possible, you want to start scouting the prospects who are generated / already there. So let's say I'm in the QMJHL, like we said, click on a prospect, scroll over to potential and comparison. When it comes to playing style is important. I will scout playing style if I already know their potential. That's the only other thing that I care about. Strengths and weaknesses, skill assessment, character assessment, those kind of just come along the way when you scout their potential in comparison. You'll see what I mean later. It's like you'll scout them, and even though you're not focusing on character assessment, it still gives you their character assessment. So I just never scout those at all. I just purely go for potential and comparison, and if I know them 100%, then I'll go for playing style. But potential and comparison all the way down here. Now the key is to look at the estimated date in the bottom right corner, because each prospect that you scout is taking up time. In the first batch, you want to be going to about the first week of February. So February 6th is going to be where I am brought, and I'm able to scout 21 players. Sometimes you can scout around only 18 players, sometimes up to 22 players. It depends on the rating overall proficiency of the scout. So I'll make note here. I just scouted all the way up to 120th in the QMJHL. I press the options button on PS4 to confirm the assignment, and then I go to the QMJHL, my second scout in the QMJHL. I scroll all the way down to where I left off. I say, oh, was it 120? Was it 119? I forget. Go ahead and press R3. Look in the top left corner. Currently being scouted. Okay, it was 128. Now is where I begin. Potential comparison, all the way down. Now, I said in my last tutorial video back in NHL 20 that I sometimes went like this. I scrolled down and then I worked from bottom to top instead of top to bottom, because for some reason that seemed to work better for me. I have not seen much evidence for that being better. It seems as if it's pretty anecdotal that sometimes it works better in uncovering prospects when you go bottom to top than top to bottom. I wouldn't advocate for either necessarily. Whatever works best for you or whatever you seem to enjoy is okay, as long as you count out the right numbers. But anyways, look at the assigned players here. This scout is C rated as opposed to the other scout that was B rated. I'm only able to scout 14 players, so that's why it's important to get scouts who have higher overalls, because they'll be able to scout more prospects in less time. So I've scouted up to 194. That means that from 199 downward, they're not being scouted at all. So when I come back in February, maybe the case is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all 6 of these guys have like AHL potential, and I don't want to scout them anymore. That opens the door to me scouting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these next 6 right here. So it's very delicate. You want to cut bait on people when it's time, and also just be aware of how many prospects are in that region. Another region, like Extraliga, for example, scouting until the month of February brings you all the way to the 400s or something, and you don't even need to know about those guys because they won't even get drafted. See, going up to 394 gets me to February 1st and 13 players only. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for all the regions. I don't think I need to show you that. I think you get it. I always go from one to the other, OHL to OHL, then WHL to WHL, Extraliga, USA, Russia, SHL, SHL, they're right next to each other, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and send out every single scout to do to scout the prospects in the respective regions, and we'll get back to this in a moment. Also take note, look at the scout salary in the bottom right corner. We're over salary by about 200K, but it doesn't matter because owner mode's off. Alright, so that is all taken care of. All of my scouts are looking at potential and comparison, and all going to be coming back in the first week of February. For the pro scouts, I pretty much just leave them on autopilot, any. They can just do whatever they want. If there was a player that I wanted to see their line fit, I would assign that to scout specifically. One's in NHL Metro, I'll send one to whatever other division that I want. So pretty much, this is the easiest part of the scouting, because now you're just on autopilot all the way until February. There's no thinking that's really required. You just send out the scouts and they do their jobs, and then comes the decisions for you as a general manager. So I'm going to go ahead and simulate all the way until February 6th, because that is when the latest scouting report comes back. And then at that point, where we will then refine our scouts for the next batch of scouting. Alright, so here we are at February 6th. The Canadians will have a great record at 24, 22, and 8. but our scouts have completed their assignments. So now I'm going to go and look at the draft class, just get an idea of how things are going so far. Seems like for the top players, it's looking great. All medium elite, all these guys are uncovered. I don't need to scout them any further. If anything, I would go to the Liga and just make sure on their player type, two-way forward, two-way D here. But aside from that, I'm pretty much done scouting them. Now, what I want to know is I want to sort by potential in here and see, do I see any early signs of a gem? Someone who may be a great late round pick. Here's an idea of someone, 3 bars, medium elite, ranked 40th. That's an interesting one that I'll want to keep a note of. 2 bars, medium elite, notified as a gem. Gem usually means that the game knows that they're going to be good. Bust, the opposite. So you want to address that accordingly. 2 bars, medium elite for this goalie, ranked 391. That's very interesting. I'll want to, even further than just making note of him, you can pin him by pressing square. So bang, 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 you can pin all of those. So it doesn't seem like there's much more than that. Again, it's hard to really get too much information after the first batch, but it does help to divide who is worth being scouted more and who is not. So once again, starting back in the QMJHL, you go back to scouting specific players, and now you're going to start off by clicking our 3-player info. R1 a couple times brings you to the potential. High top 6, perfect, don't need to know any more. High elite 1 bar, that is worth my time. I want to scout him some more. 1 bar medium elite, 2 bars medium bottom 6. See, here's the thing. If the player was ranked 2 bars medium bottom 6 and his central scouting ranking was in the hundreds, I would say not worth my time. But no player in the first round has bottom 6 potential. Therefore, I know that there's more to him. I want to scout him more. Kidney, same thing for him. AHL top 6 at 200, not worth my time. At 32, I know that there's more that's not uncovered. 2 bars, high top 9, it's on the fringes here. Same for this guy, but got to keep that in mind. Yes, 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 yes. All those guys I want to scout. I want to learn more about them while keeping note of the date down there. Yes, yes to this guy, but not really to this guy. Cameron, why not? Why not? Well, because you're 2 bars medium 7th D, and you're ranked in around 87 here. I think I'd rather dedicate my time elsewhere. Same thing for this guy. 2 bars medium AHL top 6, not worth my time. This guy says that the game says that he's a bust. So I'll keep scouting him to find out more about his potential, but I don't think I'm going to be going for him. And then this guy, you see low elite, bang. Okay, now it brings me to May 16th. This is the cutoff, the mid-May cutoff. So I don't want to go beyond this because in the middle of May, I'm going to come back. And if there's any player that I just want to know a little bit more about, I just need to send out one more time, so maybe 2-3 prospects to bring me all the way to June in the draft, I am able to do that. So cut off at 107, go to the QMJHL, the other scout, and start up at 107 and keep doing what I was just doing. Start off at 113 here. Also, by the way, if the player is 20 years old, even usually 19 years old, there's not going to be much to him, so you really want to focus on 17 and 18-year-olds. 1 bar medium elite, 1 bar medium elite, 1 bar medium elite. I want to scout all of them. All 3 of these guys right here. This guy, AHL top 6, no. Medium elite, yes. Medium top 4D, yes. Medium elite, yes. Bang. 1, 2, 3 again. This guy we said no. This guy we said no. No, yes, no. So just pretty much just no, yes, no, yes, yes, no, just all the way down. 1 bar medium elite, tell me more. And then see all on the side here, if there's all these question marks, it means that you haven't scouted them yet. Maybe they've gone up, maybe they've gone down in their ranking, as you can see by this arrow. If there's all question marks, I definitely want to scout them. This guy I don't need to know. And here we are. Brings me to the mid-May cutoff. Only around 200, unfortunately. But again, you don't need to worry too much about all these real players because there's not going to be any good real gems when you go late. Where it gets interesting is when you go to somewhere that it's all generated players. You know that there's definitely some interesting guys that you want to uncover. So yes, 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 no. 70th rated, 70th ranked, and low 3 bar low bottom 6. not worth my time. So scout, 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 scout all these guys up here. Skip 70, because remember, there's still a lot of guys out there. You got to make time. Medium backup, medium elite, yeah, I'll spend my time on those guys. Both of these. This guy, I don't think so. 3 bars, low top 9. 3 bars is not guaranteed, but you can pretty much bet on it. So low top 9, I don't want to scout anymore. I already pretty much know everything I want to know about him. And then we get to players that I haven't scouted yet, so I'll send out a couple. But then, oh, look, it's May 1st. And I still need to scout one more person to get to that threshold. Well, I might as well, I don't want to waste my time. So I may as well use it on somebody. So I'll use it on this guy, 1 bar, medium, top 9, bang. This is a complete guide, but I think that that's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to go through all the scouts, all the prospects, and sort by who I think is worth scouting and who I think is not. Again, 3 bars, you're pretty much set on who it is. If it's anything like bottom 6 or AHL top 6 forward, especially with a picture, it's not really worth my time. If there's no picture and 1 bar medium elite, hey, you never know. I'll spend my time scouting him. So I know this is very long, but I hope that that makes it clear. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll get back in a second. Also, quickly to note, as I said, as you go deeper, sometimes you don't have enough prospects to scout. I don't really want to scout these guys in the late 500s, and I'm only at April, so what I'm going to do is come all the way back to the top of the list and look at these guys over here. Player type, player type, player type. I don't know any of these player types, so I'm going to go ahead and do those. Playing style, that is. It is a lot quicker. It only takes up, you see, 1 to 2 days, usually 1 day. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a bunch of these just to get them all uncovered and fill up my timeline up until mid-May. And another thing to make note of is how potentials can't drastically jump from one thing to another when they're almost fully uncovered. So look at this guy. He's ranked 40th, and his potential is 3 bars, medium, bottom 6. He's an early second-round pick, so I know he's likely not a bottom 6 forward, but if he is 3 bars, bottom 6, that means he's likely medium top 9. He can't be high elite or medium top 6 even if we're at 3 bars. It won't jump that much. Also, at the same time, it won't drop that much. So 3 bars of anything pretty much means plus or minus 1 potential. So 3 bars bottom 6 would mean at the very best top 9, or at the very worst AHL top 6. No more, no less, unless some really crazy circumstance were to happen, which I am yet to see. So not necessarily ruling it out, but just telling you that it is very unlikely to see anything more than that when it's 3 bars, and same goes for when it's 2 bars, plus or minus 2 potentials. That is what I've seen, that is what I've heard, that is what I have experienced. So maybe it's different for you, but I can't attest to anything different than what I've just said. So those assignments have all been sent out. You'll also notice that see my scout here, I believe he was B rated in AHL Atlantic. Now halfway through the season, he's now A- rated. So anytime you send a scout to a region wherein they may not be as proficient, they will grow. The overall may not grow as quickly, but the region efficiency will. So now that all of those assignments have been sent out, we're able to go all the way to mid-May. We're going to go to May 15th, and then we'll make the final refinement that will bring us to the draft on June 23rd, I believe, is the date for every franchise mode every season. Alright, so May 15th has now come around. A beautiful spring weather is gracing the earth, and we go to see our draft class once again and see are there any updates. I see that this guy is a two-way defenseman. That's been uncovered. Going down the list here. More uncoverings, as we see this guy's now 3 bars medium elite, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm not as happy with 1 bar medium elites here. These will be players that I definitely want to get one more scouting session in with before the draft rolls around. Also important to note that you will not be seeing this with higher rated scouts. Once you are deeper into a franchise mode and all of your scouts are A minus, or B plus, you will not be seeing gaps like that. But again, we're looking at this from the point of view of if you just start up your franchise mode. Now, what's important to do before you head into your final refinement is to go to the draft board. At this point in the season, you have a good idea of where you will be drafting. Montreal Canadiens here, I believe we missed the playoffs, so it says that I'm drafting around 17, 18, 19, something around there. So unless I trade up or down, that's where I'm picking. So once again, back to the draft class. If there's someone that I don't know a lot about, say this guy, Cole Sillinger, ranked 9th, and I know that I won't trade up, there's no point in scouting him further because there's nothing that it won't be useful for me. But if there is a possibility that say, okay, this guy might be really good, I want to scout him more to determine if I will trade up, then that is a situation wherein you may do so. But for the most part, if you're scouting, wherever the stars are here, it's pretty much where you will be, the general area. There's still the draft lottery, there's still things that will change, but around, like 15 to 20 range, that's where we are. Someone late in the first round, again, this guy is 3 bars medium elite, I'd probably want to learn more about him. This guy is 2 bars medium top 6. I may not have the time to uncover more about him because it would require another couple sessions, plus I won't be drafting there. So always just be very aware and cognizant of where you're drafting and who you want to dedicate resources to. So back to the QMJHL here, a lot of prospects in this region. Let's look at it from that point of view. Okay, this guy's ranked 5th, I know enough. This guy's ranked 10th. I'm probably not going to be drafting here, but he's 2 bars high elite, so you know what? Maybe it's worth it to scout a little bit more. Okay, now 28, 2 bars medium elite. I'll scout him. 2 bars medium top 6, I'll pass on him. AHL, no. 2 bars medium elite, I'll do that. If they're going to take too long, they're not worth my time. 1 bar medium elite, that's really pushing it because the most I'll uncover is maybe he gets to 2 bars medium elite. But, I'd rather dedicate resources to these 2 guys here as well. Now, the estimated date I'm at is June 21st. It brings me up to 80, and I go ahead and confirm that. I don't want to go over June 23rd, which is when the draft is. And actually, I wouldn't even go up to June 23rd. I'd want June 22nd to be my absolute max, just to be sure. Back to where I left off. Okay, 2 bars low elite. Scout him. Keep scrolling down. 1 bar elite, 1 bar elite. Why not? 2 bars elite. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take off this guy because he's 20 years old. Not worth my time so much. And that brings me to June 13th. Another one would bring me to June 23rd. I don't want to push it. So I'm just going to go back to the top over here and just scout some more playing styles just to kill some of that time. And why not? I'll learn a little bit more about the other players. Go ahead and confirm that. And that is the QMJHL. Now going somewhere where there are generated players, this is where it's a bit tougher. Now I'm in the USA Central. I look over here, 3 bars medium top 6, around 18, that's where I'm picking. Yep, that I want to know more about him, definitely. 1 bar medium elite, I want to know more about him, not so much him with bottom 6, and more about Ramsey here. Keep going down, 2 bars medium elite, and there, just like that, I'm at June 18th. Now let's say I was scrolling down further, and let's say this guy at 342 was like 3 bars medium elite. I definitely want to know a lot more about him. I have to scout him, but now I'm over at June 26th. You're definitely going to have to go back through the guys that you said to scout and say, okay, who is actually not worth my time as much? This guy at 34, 1 bar medium elite, I'm not going to draft there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take him off. So once again, as a general manager, it is your responsibility to make sure that you are sending out your resources accordingly. So once again, I'm going to send out my scouts in all of their respective regions for one more run at scouting, and then we'll get up to the draft and see what kind of potentials we have uncovered. Alright, so now as we close in on the draft lottery has taken place. We remain in 15th place. Tough times for the Canadiens, just missed out on the playoffs. Go through all these things. If you have morale off, I go ahead and skip the draft interviews. There's not really a point to them if you don't care about the player's character, so I just press continue simming. If you want to ask them a few questions about their character, you can, but it really doesn't tell you too much because you already have their strengths and weaknesses scouted out. For example, I'm not going to go out and scout this guy Tommy Virtanen's personality because it already tells me very friendly but keeps to himself. 3 bars realistic, so 3 bars confirmed. So although we only scouted player, type, and potential in comparison, for some reason it only brings me to 3 bars on the player style to 2-way forward. Maybe he's a power forward, maybe he's a playmaker, maybe he's a sniper. most likely a two-way forward, but you're not totally sure. I have all his strengths and weaknesses. I have his ratings on shooting, puck skill, senses, and everything. I have all these things, the player comparison, the NHL ETA, the scheme fit, and all I scouted was potential in comparison and player type. So don't waste your time on character assessment and all that other stuff, because it will just come by itself for the big players. And to be honest, it's not uncommon to see it later in the draft. Like, let's look at Ivan Gonchar here. Personality, nothing to report. There you go. All right. Although it doesn't tell me much about his potential, it does tell me about his personality. Cares about winning and is very outspoken. Perfect. So I don't need to, it only gives you a certain number of interviews, so I wouldn't waste my time on them. Before we go and look at the draft and everything for one last final time, I want to show you how this exact draft would have looked if we did auto scouting for the entire year. The reason I do it specifically for this draft is because in every simulation, in every save file, you're going to get new generated prospects. So the generated prospects that I have in year one are different than the ones that you will have in year one. So if we had auto scouted the entire season, the draft class when June 23rd, 2021 rolls around looks like this. So here we are at the draft. If the entire season were auto-scouted, obviously the order of the picks are different because the season ended in a different way, but all the prospects are still the same. So auto-scouting will pretty much always, you'll get the big information about the big boys, top 3, etc. But look right here, totally unknown, totally unknown. Not just one bar, totally unknown. That is really tough when it comes to drafting. Down here, okay, this guy we haven't fully uncovered, medium top 6. For some reason, this guy's fully uncovered with auto scouting, but when I sent out scouts to him on 3 different occasions, they still don't tell me enough. That's why it's a really weird system. I personally scout this guy 3 times, and it doesn't tell me as much as the auto scout did, but either way, you can see what the point that I'm trying to make is, where you have some guys who are definitely uncovered in the first round. That's great. Auto scouting is not like no scouting, but okay, now we're getting into the late first round, early second round, a few unknowns. It's a bit shaky out here, but still, okay, this guy's top 6, this guy's top 6, this guy's top, okay, I'm still good. Where it really comes down to making a big difference for your scouting is in the later rounds. In the hundreds, the 150s, etc., if you're picking at 108 and you don't know this guy above, you don't know this guy below, it's really hard to make a decision because the only guy who looks half decent, okay, I have a guy like 20 picks away, or sorry, 10 picks away who's 2 bars medium elite. You take him, he's medium top 9, you wasted a pick. It's infuriating. So it's not only good to uncover the guys early on and who are the good players, but later as well. Like look at this guy, guaranteed medium elite, fantastic. But how many more of those are there hiding in here? That's where the difference comes in. When you have a 5th, a 6th, a 7th round pick, you can waste it on an absolute shot in the dark, a pure shot in the dark. Look at all these guys, all unknown. Or you can make a very educated idea of a guess or even a guarantee. All these guys, your scouts were busy spending time on all these AHL guys when they could have spent time on the good ones. So there's just an idea of how it looks when you're auto scouting. Look at all these unknowns down here in the 250s, etc. Look especially like around 260 onward, aside from that one guy AHL top 6, all unknowns. Look at this, all the way down. Almost all unknown for a very long stretch, a little bit over here, then more unknowns. So this is what I'm talking about, the late picks. Not just wasting them on shots in the dark, but actually getting high potential players. Like if I take a guy in the 6th round who's low elite 40 overall, yeah, he'll probably never make my team, but that's a lot of trade value that can be added to a trade that can allow me to get another piece. So it is, I cannot stress enough how important it is to do your scouting to get good value prospects, because not only do you want them to make your team, you want them to have trade value. So with all that considered, all that understood, now here's how it looked after our full season of intentional scouting. And here we are back in our alternate reality where we did all of our own scouting, and you'll see right off the bat all these guys uncovered. We didn't know anything about Leroux or Redenbach, bang, high top 6, medium elite, perfect. As we scroll down, here's Havlat. We don't know as much about him, like I said earlier, but we do know more in general about more prospects. Still, it's unfortunate that right away my C-rated prospects are not able to uncover these guys a lot, but you will be like shocked when you get to A and B-rated scouts about how like every single prospect is 3 to 4 bars uncovered for the first couple of rounds, and much deeper as well. So you see that the potentials are not super reliable, but they are there. So you can make a somewhat educated guess later in the draft, and virtually no one unknown, except for a couple guys who you weren't able to get to because you were busy scouting in the higher numbers. This is a region with a lot of prospects. But aside from that, virtually everyone is known. Like I said, it doesn't matter as much if it's a player who has a picture and is 20 years old and is ranked 200, because you know that it's a guarantee that they're not going to have high potential. But the key is to look at areas wherein there aren't so many. So look at this in the Liga, 2-bar medium starter goalie here. This could be an interesting selection. Let's go to those regions specifically. Let me look just at USA West, for example. How much do I have uncovered? I have uncovered all the way until 304, 1-bar medium elite. Not a lot, but at least that's something. If I go to the SHL, for example, that's a region with a lot of good prospects. I have it uncovered all the way down to at least 468 or so. And look, I have 2 bars medium elite on this guy. For some reason, I sent out scouts to him, but they still didn't uncover more. But once again, that speaks to having to have high value scouts. This guy's 3 bars low elite. That's going to be interesting. Liga, as we go down, here are some more guys uncovered. 2 bars medium starter, like we said. This guy, a couple of 2-bar low elites in the 150, 170 range. So these people are so integral to your franchise for trade value. I cannot stress trade value enough after all the franchise mode series that I have done. So let's say you go through your draft. Let's say we're picking at 15 here with the Montreal Canadiens. You say, okay, who was I going to draft? It may have been a shot in the dark between these 2 players, these 2 defensemen. One is 3 bars medium elite. One is 2 bars AHL top D. It's not even a question. It has to be Brandt Clarke. Even though my scouts say that maybe one is ranked 14th and one is ranked 15th, you can trust the potential more than you can trust the scout rank. So I'll go ahead and select Brandt Clarke. He is medium elite, and the other guy was medium. Oh, he didn't even get taken. The other guy was medium top 4D. So his potential was undervalued, but at least I knew that this guy has to be better. 3 bars medium elite will almost always be better than 2 bars whatever Chaika was. So we can go ahead and sim now to pick 46. I'll just show you a few more picks, for example, of how drafting, it means a lot to be able to know who you're doing. And see, once again, it'll be a shot in the dark, but instead I say, look at this guy, Felix Gotch. He's a generated player and he's 3 bars medium elite. That means there's a pretty good chance that he is either medium elite or medium top 4D. So I'll take him and bang, medium top 4D. Perfect. The other players who were here, medium, high top 9, high top 9. I didn't want any of those guys. So let's sim a few rounds actually. Let's go to one of the deeper rounds and I'll show you how trade value is important. Let's actually go all the way to pick number 201, deep in the 7th round of the draft. This is where things really get grindy. And let's say we just sort by potential. When sorting by potential, I have these 2 players who are both 2 bars medium elite. So I could take a chance on one of them, or I could even trade for a pick later and try to get both of them. But let's say I take Yuri Kalinin, who's ranked about 100 spots higher than Alfredson, 2 bars medium elite. Let's see what we got from him. Medium fringe starter. Is that really good? No, but look at this. All things considered, you have to look at it comparatively. AHL top 6, AHL top 6, 7th D, 7th D, AHL top 6, a couple of bottom 6s. But you have to look at it comparatively. Deep in the 7th round, to find someone who has the potential to be a fringe starter in the NHL, which means even better than a backup, I'd rather take him than just waste a pick on a guy who is AHL top 6 and will literally go nowhere in my franchise mode. But let's say the draft is over. Unfortunately, this is not a fantastic draft in years number 1 or 2, so I can't show you really fun examples. If you look to my franchise mode series, you'll see some crazy picks where, you know, you're deep in the 6th, 7th round and you get a high elite goalie or something like that, and it's more than a half-bar trade value. That is huge for your franchise in terms of skill and trade value. But not even when you're picking deep. If you're picking 3rd, 4th, 5th, you got to know of the 3 guys who would have been 2 bars medium elite, who actually is elite, and you don't want to waste a high pick like that. So once the draft is over, you'll do all your signing. I'm not going to be concerned with that, but you'll do all your signings and you'll come to July 1st. Once you get to July 1st, that is when there will be new scouts on the market. So you want to go over to hire staff and then look at hire scouts. So you'll see that there are some new scouts on the market. Once again, they're still C overall because the game doesn't really generate new scouts. I believe from my experience is that when the years start to go on, it's teams that don't re-sign those scouts because every team has a scouting staff. So after the first year, no scout was signed to a one-year contract. So after year one, I believe there are some new generated scouts. I'm not sure if these names were here before, but you definitely want to check it out regardless to see if there's anyone of interest. Let's see, this guy is C rated in Russia, has an A+. And my scout down here is C minus A+. So you know what? It's not a major change, but I would go ahead and fire that scout and then go hire the new Russian scout. Budget remaining, doesn't matter, offer him a max contract. On July 1st, you always want to offer max contracts. If you offer a scout what he's asking for exactly in terms of year and salary, I'm pretty sure that 99% of the time, the scout will accept the contract. However, if other teams are interested, which would be shown under the name, would say other teams interested, that never happens on July 1st. No one ever sends out an offer on July 1st, so no one else is really interested. But regardless, send the max contract because in the next 1 to 2 or even 3 days, teams will begin to send out scouting contract offers. As we see here, we simulate a couple of days, and now we look back again at hire staff, and we'll see that there are a number of scouts who have other teams interested in them. Look at this, teams interested, 2, 2, 1. So if I wanted to go hire this scout now, other teams interested, Bruins and Penguins. Always offer the max contract. If you offer the max contract, I have never seen a scout say no, even when there's up to 8 other teams interested, so you shouldn't be too worried. So I believe that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Like I said, if I were to simulate another 2-3 seasons, you would see more scouts in the market with A, B readings, etc. So again, I encourage you, go and look at one of my franchise mode off-season videos, whether it was NHL 20 or whatever, and you'll see that my scouts deep into a franchise mode, C would be unacceptable. They're all A+, A-, B+, etc. You won't have C-rated scouts. So your network of scouting a few years into your franchise will be unstoppable. Coupled with the generated players that are in the draft, you're going to be finding all kinds of gems and producing all kinds of trade value for your team. Now, speaking as well of the quality of players in the draft, that is something that can also be tweaked when you go into the rules here, the settings, and you can look at draft class quality and generated prospect quality. The draft class will just be the class as a whole. Low means you won't have as many elite and franchise players. Medium means pretty normal. High means more high-end talent. I don't want to flood the market too much. I usually go with medium. Then generated prospect quality seems to mean that there will be more high-end prospects. What's the difference between draft class quality and generated prospect quality? The additional information on the side seems to be pretty similar. It just says the draft class as a whole and the player potential, but it's kind of more like, I think this seems to be quantity and quality. So I would make them the same, low, low, medium, medium, or high, high. I keep mine on medium, medium. So I think that just about wraps it up. I tried to make this tutorial as comprehensive as possible, as you can see by the length of this video. So I hope that it was helpful. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave me a comment. I will get back to you ASAP with as much advice as I can offer. But just remember the keys. Have as good an overall and region score scout as possible, send out the right number of scouts to the right locations, have about 18 scouts for the amateur and 2 for the pro. It really depends on Fog of War. If you don't care about line fit at all, then definitely go for 20 amateur scouts. If you do care about line fit, have 2 to 3, maybe 4 pro scouts. And if you do have Fog of War totally on, then you definitely want maybe 4 to 6 pro scouts. So that'll make it tougher to uncover the draft classes. But for the typical NHL 21 franchise mode player, I'd say the division of 18-2 or 17-3 is very nice. And just to slide in a little note here, if you want to see a completely generated draft class, then go check out my How to Maximize NHL 20 scouting video, because over there, I think it was the year 2026, and there are a lot of good late gems. So if you want to see a little example, definitely go check that out, or any other off-season video in any of my franchise modes. And remember to keep in mind that this is not necessarily a one-size-fits-all strategy, as different regions may have a different number of prospects depending on what year it is. So be sure to be fluid with your scouts. You can send them to different regions, but the breakdown that I gave with the 2, 2, 2, 1, etc. is a pretty tried and true method that works for most seasons. Coupled with the strategy of going from the preseason to February, February to May, and May to June. That is due to the number of prospects. If you have a region that has a really low amount of prospects, like let's say you only want to scout 5 guys and it brings you only to December, then make note of that and go back in December and make sure to send them out again. And once they're fully scouted, you can change that scout's region. You don't need every scout to go to February if certain scouts are done in December. It really just comes down to being mindful, checking out the draft class regularly, and making sure that the players that you want to be scouted are continually being scouted. So I do hope that this tutorial was helpful. I'm going to be putting out another one relatively soon on chemistry, which is another very difficult subject here in franchise mode. So line fit and chemistry and all that stuff, I'll put out another tutorial. But for scouting, I think that's pretty much it. So once again, leave any questions if you have any, and I'll get back to you. If you are brand new to the channel or you haven't subscribed, hey, make sure that you do. Lots of franchise mode, be a pro, and other content here on the channel, but the staple here is franchise mode, where you can follow along in the series on whatever team is being played with. Currently the Minnesota Wild, but when you're watching this, who knows what year it is or what team is going on. So I would encourage you to come watch this series, especially if you're a beginner in franchise mode, to pick up tips as you go, little tips on how to do trades and contract negotiations and lines. As we said, we're making another video for that, etc. So thank you so much for watching. Links for everything down in the description for the Discord server, where we could even talk one-on-one. If you have more questions regarding NHL 21, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions, and I will see you in the next one.